Okay, before I get into this, son, I'm speaking from the perspective as a white man in an interracial marriage. And this is for other white people, so y'all aren't fucking surprised when this happens. When, not if, when they come for interracial marriage, I'm telling you, there's going to be a whole lot of fucking white people that walk away from their partners and from their kids. There's going to be some of you white people right now that are like, oh my God, no way, that would never happen. You're just fear-mongering, or you're just this and that. No, listen. I've made a video about interracial marriage before, and the amount of comments that I've gotten from people about their white partners who are completely not in touch with politics or not political are a lot. You will see white partners in these marriages choose white supremacy over their own partners and children. I promise you. Because mind you, these white people have partners and children that look like the people that are being snatched by ICE. They're watching Trump on down talk about their partners being DEI hires at work. Doesn't move them. They don't give a fuck. These same partners, white partners, tokenize their spouse at every turn. So I can't be racist. I have a black, indigenous spouse of color. Y'all see it on here all the time. But when the pressure hits and it's building, white people fucking fold to white supremacy all the goddamn time. That's what's happening right now on a national scale. And we're seeing it. We got concentration camps in America. We got the National Guard in LA and DC. We got ICE snatching up kids, families, deporting them. Doesn't matter if they're fucking citizens or not. And white people aren't moved to do shit. So you think when they come down and they try to attack interracial marriage, it's going to move white people? Absolutely the fuck not. JD Vance, I wouldn't be surprised if he set the standard and said, I'm leaving my wife for X, Y, and Z reason. He'll make some bullshit up. And other white Americans will be like, oh yeah, he did it? All right, yep, then it's safe for me to walk away. When you as a white person can be in an interracial marriage and you see the way the entire country is treating people that look just like your children or your partner, and you just say, I'm not political, or we don't talk about that in my house, you're fucking going to, when the government comes for your shit. Well, you're probably not, because you're going to be too scared to say anything or do anything, because you're just going to be scared about violence from other white people for being in an interracial marriage. White people as a whole value white supremacy more than anything in their fucking life. 3 out of 5 white men voted for Trump. 1 out of 2 white women voted for Trump. And everything that's happening right now is what they want. And other white people that don't have a fucking spine, or other white people that don't view their partners as human beings, that don't see their children, their biracial children, as human beings, they'll walk the fuck away. I'm calling it right.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, Africans. I hope you're faring well where you are, and if you ain't faring well, please fare well where you are. So I want to ask parents a question. Parents who have daughters in their families, right? So would you allow your daughter to get married to a man you don't like, a man you consider inferior, a man that your grandfather, your dad, your mom, everyone in your family has always told you that, you look at that people, this group of people are inferior to us. And when you marry to them, you're breaking the family privilege, right? Yeah, it's a form of disrespect to us when you get into a hand of marriage with them. That is the topic we are going to discuss. And we are going to use relevant videos because there is a topic idea, or rather there is an argument in the United States of America, and possibly it might get its hands into making it to the Constitution, right? Prohibiting interracial marriages. Interracial marriages in the future might become a crime according to the United States of America Constitution. So without further ado, let's listen to these brothers and sisters give their argument in support or against it. And then I shall get back by the end of the video, of course, where we shall also have a deep critical analysis. Let's dive in.
When you want that diversity to shine within our federal system, there are going to be rules and proceedings. They're going to be out of sync with maybe what other states would do. It's the beauty of the system, and that's where the differences among points of view in our 50 states ought to express themselves. And I'm not saying that rule would apply in general, depending on the topic, but it should mostly be in general, because it's hard to have it on issues that you just are interested in when you deny it for others with a different point of view.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical.
Today about interracial marriage and abortion.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical. When it comes to issues, you can't have it both ways. When you want that diversity to shine within our federal system, there are going to be rules and proceedings. They're going to be out of sync with maybe what other states would do. It's the beauty of the system, and that's where the differences among points of view in our 50 states ought to express themselves. And I'm not saying that rule would apply in general, depending on the topic, but it should mostly be in general, because it's hard to have it on issues that you just are interested in when you deny it for others with a different point of view.
Braun told reporters that he views the Supreme Court decision to legalize abortion as a case of judicial activism. He says it's an issue that should have been left up to each individual state. And when asked by a reporter, he said the 1967 Supreme Court decision to legalize interracial marriage should have been left up to the states.
When you want that diversity to shine within our federal system, there are going to be rules and proceedings. They're going to be out of sync with maybe what other states would do. It's the beauty of the system, and that's where the differences among points of view in our 50 states ought to express themselves. And I'm not saying that rule would apply in general, depending on the topic, but it should mostly be in general, because it's hard to have it on issues that you just are interested in when you deny it for others with a different point of view.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical.
Good evening, everybody. I'm coming on here because I want to say this. He's coming against interracial marriage. And as some of you know who have followed me for a while, my husband is white. And he doesn't want it to go to the Supreme Court because he does not want it to be a federal ban, because he knows he won't get that, right? Loving versus Virginia is entrenched in the Constitution, right? It's there. He would have to come against it. And so what he wants to do is he wants to leave it to the states. He wants the states to decide if you can be married to a different race, right? And y'all, this is the height of racism. This is the epitome of racism. They are saying that they don't want anybody to be married to white people but white people. Right? And I want you guys to understand what happened if you married somebody in the 50s and you were black and they were white. Some of y'all need to go ahead and watch Loving versus Virginia, the movie. That woman was arrested so many times and just treated abominably. Right? And I want y'all to know that this man loved his wife so much that when they went to the Supreme Court to have the right to be a family, because that's all he wanted to do was be a family. And he said, just tell them that I love my wife. But your current government, your current president, wants to come against that. So everybody that is married to Hispanics, Latinos, and especially the ones that are black presenting, Asians who have the darker skin, Caribbean people, Africans. So we're all in this now, right? We're all in this together. He doesn't want you to be able to be married to anybody white. Yep. And he wants to give it to the states so that if it went to the Supreme Court, you know, Thomas is married to a white woman. Amy Coney Barrett has black children. So they know that they're not going to get what they need from them. So they know that they will probably defect and go to the other ones, the other side, and vote with them. And they will lose. And they will lose big. So if they give it to the states, now they want to, they don't want to federalize anything now because, you know, he's federalized the troops, but he doesn't want to federalize this. He does not want to come against the federal law. He wants to come against the state law. He wants the states to decide. So I'm going to tell you, Texas, you just need to know right now. Okay? Missouri, you just need to know right now. Indiana, you just need to know right now. This is shameful for the black people who voted for him. You disgust me. You're the 16% that did it. The 16% of black men, you disgust me. And the 8% of black women, you disgust me because you were bamboozled. You were hoodwinked. And then the rest of you, the fact that you are a one-issue voter got us here. Now is America great again? Good evening, everybody.
Are you absolutely kidding me? GOP governor, Republican governor of Indiana, is trying to walk back interracial marriage. Oh, wow. What year is this? I'm Sergeant Rob, United States Marine Corps infantry veteran, 5 years. Look, they're going after same-sex marriage. Now they're going after interracial marriage. Soon, They won't have anyone that falls into those two categories around anymore. That's where we're going. That's what we're going back to. We're going pre-antebellum stage here. We are going such in the wrong direction that there will not be a recognizable America in which we know it as America any longer. And that's my opinion. This is information that's being shoved in our face because they're not hiding their goals and their wants anymore. They're coming after every individual American and their rights. And again, it's just what I've been seeing. It's what is happening. It is what they're telling us they want to do. It is not misinformation. It is the truth. Because the fact that they're going on social media, posting these things, championing these things to take away the rights of love from our citizens is ridiculous. It's infuriating. Everyone should be up in arms about this because it doesn't matter what gender, ethnicity, or color you are. Love should not be dictated by the government. And you know, maybe we should just abolish marriage altogether if they're to treat it like a weapon against their citizens. Because outside of a tax break, what do you get from it? A piece of paper. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day because you can still love who you love and be in love with those that you love. So, the fact that this administration is coming after these things, we're past the tipping point, guys. We are. Because do you think they're going to stop here? And if it doesn't affect you now, when will it? Probably very soon. Medicaid's looking at a $500 billion cut. Wow, they spend $200 million on an expansion for a ballroom. We're slicing our national parks in half, trying to sell them off for oil rights and mineral rights.
Gay marriage is not actually officially legal in the United States of America, nor is interracial marriage. There is no piece of federal legislation codifying and protecting gay marriage. In fact, in 35 states, there is either a constitutional or legal ban on same-sex marriages. And if the Obergefell v. Hodges court case in 2015 hadn't happened, or if the court had decided the other way, there would be absolutely no form of federal protection for same-sex couples. That could be changing this week. Welcome back to Queer History with Miss Nevada Heather Renner. I am so excited because this week we could get to watch history being made for our community. A few months ago, I made a video about the Respect for Marriage Act, which was currently passing the House and on its way to the Senate. The Senate had decided to block the vote until after elections, which, surprise, is now. They have just decided to move forward with the vote. Every single Democrat and Independent in the Senate decided that they wanted to move forward with the vote, as well as 12 Republicans. These are the 12 that said they would not filibuster and that they were ready to move forward with the vote to protect not only same-sex marriage, but interracial marriage on a federal level as well. But Heather, I thought that same-sex marriage and interracial marriage were already legal. Nope! The Supreme Court has just said that it is illegal to block any couple from getting married, but there's no legislative protection to make sure that people can A, get married, and B, have that marriage recognized in every single state in the nation. If the Supreme Court were to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, as some justices have suggested, Clarence Thomas, that they would like to, that would mean that those 35 states who have the same-sex marriage ban would kick back in, and marriages in those states would either be considered illegal or unrecognized. That's what the Respect for Marriage Act actually protects against. Since the Supreme Court has suggested that it is illegal to stop people from getting married, that is what we in the political science realm called a negative right. Basically, the government won't stop you from doing something. A positive right would be the government is going to give you something or ensure something. Those are also referred to as entitlements. And now we might actually have the given right to get married in the year 2022. I am excited to watch history be made. Make sure you are calling your senators and telling them how important this bill is for you to protect your family, to protect your loved ones, and to protect your community. We got this, you guys. We are so close.
Y'all, this world's crazy, man. Did y'all see the video? There's a senator from Indiana, and he's talking about interracial marriages. He's saying that they're gonna bring it to the higher ups because it should be up to the states to decide whether they want to marry interracial couples. This is America. So in other words, they're thinking about taking away interracial marriages. And it is up for discussion. It's called the Interracial Marriage Laws of 2025. But now can we agree that America is racist now? Can we agree with this now? It's right in front of our face. I'm gonna repost the video, but they're thinking about taking away interracial marriages.
The senator of Indiana, Senator Mike Braun, just said that interracial marriage should be a decision that's taken over by the states. Remember what happened when they did that with abortion and now it's illegal in a bunch of states? That's what they're going to try to do. And after interracial marriage, not even after, maybe at the same time, they will be coming for gay marriage next. When y'all voted this Trump wannabe into office, I knew some dumb shit was about to happen. He's already cut Medicaid, been super pro-Israel, given them a bunch of money, supported a bunch of huge corporations, and given them no tax cuts. This is the list of everyone who's gotten bribes from AIPAC. And, oh, he is. And you sold out to Israel for $75,000. Good to know. A lot of other people sold out for more, but yeah, if you go to Open Secrets, you can see all the people who were given money by AIPAC. Top Democrats who love Israel, of course, at the top. Chuck Schumer. Yup, makes sense. Now, what do we do? One, direct action is the only thing that politicians actually care about. Blocking them, protesting, going into their way to make things harder for them. And that's when they actually start listening. In 2020, when they did all the protests for the police, it was only when protests turned violent and when senators actually started to be intimidated by the level of people who were coming out, by the number of people who were coming out, and that's when they actually had started defunding the police. Now, did those things stay in place? And have they defunded the police at all? Since then, no. We have actually funded the police even more. These are genuinely scary times, but invest in your communities, disrupt politicians, get in their way, make them uncomfortable, call them, vote in local elections. I'll be posting more about that. And yeah, get married interracially as soon as possible, because that may be going away from a product of interracial marriage. Hopefully it doesn't, but...
Will the Supreme Court overturn gay and interracial marriage? Let's talk about it. Substantive due process is a legal doctrine that says, even though the Due Process Clause doesn't explicitly state certain fundamental rights, it nonetheless protects those. And some of those rights include like the right to interracial marriage and same-sex marriage and privacy and the use of contraceptives. This doctrine, which I think is good, was developed over time by the Supreme Court through a series of landmark cases. These landmark cases include Griswold v. Connecticut, which enshrined the right to privacy generally and the right to contraceptives in particular. Loving v. Virginia, the right to marry a person of a different race. Roe v. Wade, the right to a pre-viability abortion, which was ultimately overturned. Another example is Obergefell v. Hodges, which enshrines the right to marry someone of the same sex, i.e. the gay marriage case. Essentially, substantive due process enshrines these rights, among others, and prevents the state and federal government from like infringing on these rights without like very particular procedures. It's an important doctrine. What pisses the freaks off is that these rights, which seem very normal to me, are not explicitly stated in the Constitution. Because this doctrine is ever evolving in con law, it's subject to a lot of confusion and criticism from the freaks. And by freaks, I mean largely the right. So one of the main critiques is that this is an example of judicial overreach, which means that when judges enshrine certain rights, like the right to gay marriage, that they're imposing their own policy beliefs on the Constitution. Another resounding critique is that this sort of interpretation of the Constitution is not textually based, right? Like, again, gay marriage is not actually enshrined in the Constitution, so we shouldn't abide by it. That's what they're saying. As context, there's this huge debate among like legal scholars
scholars and lawyers and judges about how we interpret the Constitution. Some people are originalists or textualists, which tell you look directly at the text of the Constitution and how it was interpreted at the time that it was written, and that's how you should decide cases. The other normal people believe in a living Constitution, which is the idea that the Constitution should be interpreted as the society evolves, right? As the society evolves, you apply social norms and social ideas. That's how we got to the idea of like gay marriage should be protected, interracial marriage should be protected, abortion should be protected. So the originalists, the freaks, think that the Constitution should not be interpreted as protecting all of these like very normal social normie rights, and instead that these decisions should be left up to the states, which is what happened to the right to abortion, right? Like now it's a state by state decision. You can be in one state, Texas, and not be able to get an abortion, but then you can go over to Massachusetts and get one. I would like to note for you originalist freaks that per the Constitution, I'm just 3/5 the person. First, what does this frickin' mean? Well, as you know, the right to an abortion was overturned by the case Dobbs that the Supreme Court heard. The right to an abortion was one of these substantive due process rights. And in his concurrence, Justice Thomas, boo, said that we'd have to go back and look at the other substantive due process cases like Griswold, like Obergefell, signaling that he wanted to overturn these other like privacy rights that we have all gotten so used to. That freak wrote, in future cases, we should reconsider all of this court's substantive due process precedents, including Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. Because any substantive due process decision is demonstrably erroneous, we have a duty to correct the error established in those precedents. What the conservative justices on the Supreme Court, right, the most important court in all the land, want to do is dismantle these rights that we have.
Interracial marriage was finally made legal in all US states 55 years ago this week. Known as Loving Day, the 12th of June is a celebration of all interracial relationships, based on the case of Loving versus Virginia. It was 1958 that Richard and Mildred Loving were arrested in the state of Virginia for getting married as an interracial couple. Their case reached the US Supreme Court, with their lawyers arguing that these outdated laws on mixed marriage were based on white supremacy and continued the oppression and subjugation of black people and other ethnic minorities. It took 9 years, but the couple finally won their case on June 12, 1967. This marked an ending to all anti-miscegenation laws that remained in the 16 US states. Though I'm not from the US, Loving Day is touching for me personally because I'm a product of an interracial relationship. This is a picture of my mom and dad in the 90s. Representation for mixed-race people is so important to me, which is why I'm working with Mosaic the Label, a women-owned fashion brand that focuses on the identities of mixed-race and biracial people. They've just released a new collection for Loving Day inspired by the case of Loving versus Virginia.
Day about interracial marriage and abortion.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical. When it comes to issues, you can't have it both ways. When you want that diversity to shine within our federal system, there are going to be rules and proceedings. They're going to be out of sync with maybe what other states would do. It's the beauty of the system, and that's where the differences among points of view in our 50 states ought to express themselves. And I'm not saying that rule would apply in general, depending on the topic, but it should mostly be in general, because it's hard to have it on issues that you just are interested in when you deny it for others with a different point of view.
Braun told reporters that he views the Supreme Court decision to legalize abortion as a case of judicial activism. He says it's an issue that should have been left up to each individual state. And when asked by a reporter, he said the 1967 Supreme Court decision to legalize interracial marriage should have been left up to the states.
Interracial marriage was not fully legal in the United States until 1967. That's only 54 years ago. You can see on the states above, some had changed those laws prior to that date, but everywhere in the red, not until 1967. This is Mildred and Richard Loving. They were married in 1958, which was illegal in Virginia, where they lived. They were arrested and sentenced to a year in jail. With the help of the ACLU, they went to court. They battled that court case all the way to the Supreme Court, and they won. June 12th, 1967, which is also known as Loving Day. So whenever anyone tries to say, oh, that was so long ago, the past is the past, 1967.
This video is for all the people who say that was so long ago. Why do you guys keep bringing up racism? Because it wasn't that long ago, and let's talk about it. This picture behind me is from Mississippi's first interracial bride and groom, Bertha and Roger Mills, enjoying their wedding cake, as seen right here, in 1970, 55 years ago. Correct. Interracial marriages in Mississippi are just getting their AARP card. Right, it was not that long ago. So yes, call Dr. Umar because she, right there, got her a snow puppy. But that idea that we may laugh at somebody like Dr. Umar about was the law not too long ago. And for what it's worth, it was not until 2000 that Alabama changed their law that basically said, yeah, actually the black people and white people can get married. Because that used to be against the law until Loving v. Virginia. In fact, fun fact, Alabama also didn't ratify the 13th Amendment until quite recently as well. But let's stick to this one topic. Let's lock in. Loving v. Virginia, 1967. That was not that long ago. That was the case that struck down the laws from states that banned interracial relationships on the basis that it violated people's equal protection and due process rights. But that does not mean that all states abided by it. Much like many other things, states in the South continued to basically enforce these laws. As you see here, in Alabama, they continue to enforce the laws until 1970, when Nixon administration Republicans had to sue them to basically stop them from doing that. And it was not until 2000, just 25 years ago, that the state became the last state to basically ratify that this was not allowed, to basically ban interracial relationships. And in 2000, you would think 100% of the people, 90% of the people would have agreed with this. And you would be wrong, because it's Alabama. It was only 60% of the people. So, no, that was 25 years ago. And still, 40% of the people still said that you were not allowed to love who you want because they were a different race. So no, racism, that was not that long ago, guys.
In 1958, a white man and a black woman got married. In America, this was a crime. Their names were Richard and Mildred Loving. And yes, that was really their last name. They married in Washington, D.C. to avoid Virginia's anti-nation, I don't know how to say that word, laws. But when they returned home, they were arrested in their bedroom for being married. Their sentence, leave the state or go to prison. Their crime, it wasn't until 1967, 9 years later, that the Supreme Court ruled in the Loving versus Virginia that banning interracial marriage was, in fact, unconstitutional. And just think about that for a minute. Your grandparents were alive when interracial marriage was illegal. It took a Supreme Court case to say, hey, maybe love shouldn't be a felony. And today, the same forces that oppose the Lovings, white Christian nationalism, legal segregationists, states' rights fanatics, are still here, just wearing better suits and smiling for campaign ads. Loving versus Virginia wasn't just a victory for love. It was a battle against a system that believed race should be controlled by law. And that battle still is not over. I'm not feeling my best, but I love that story and I wanted to say it. Peace, y'all. Stick around.
So after carefully listening to these brothers and sisters, here's my deep critical analysis. And here's my argument. You see, the USA, the United States of America, was not built for the black people, right? The USA was built for every other race apart from the black race. And here is the reason. You see, from the times of Jim Crow, even before the Jim Crow, we had the times of slavery. From the times of slavery to the times of Jim Crow, to the times of the other presidents, now in these modern times of Trumpism, the black person has faced unimaginable crime against humanity being done against them, right? And you see, what is a culture? You need to understand what is a culture and what is a tradition. Once you understand the culture and tradition, you come to acknowledge and you come to understand the heaviness and the trouble of indoctrination, right? Indoctrination is false education. Indoctrination is an education, misinformed education that is powered by a propaganda to fit a certain narrative. Most of the time, it's always a narrative. Take, for instance, if you use in the context of US, the narrative is promote white privilege and portray the black image as an image of crime, as an image of vice, right? Not virtue, but vice, right? And this is propelled. It's propelled and people grow, people are born, people die, people are born, people are dying in the same idea, right? So having this mind that there should not be allowed interracial marriages, or rather a constitution should not allow interracial marriages, is nothing less of Jim Crow laws, is nothing less of segregation, is nothing less of apartheid that was happening in South Africa. Because one of the clauses of apartheid does not allow black people to marry the white people, right? There's a part of clause of this apartheid that supported that, right? So I'm back here, and I'm checking all these, and I am understanding that you cannot legislate the human heart. You see, when someone loves, they have loved, and love knows no boundaries. Love doesn't understand color. It doesn't understand your religion. It doesn't understand your wealth status, right? So love knows no boundaries, and love cuts across cultures, it cuts across races, it cuts across religion, very many of it. So there is no way I think it will be permissive. I don't think it will work if by any chance they try to legislate interracial marriages to be a crime. It will not just be a crime against the black people, it will be a crime against humanity. And that I don't see myself coming. So if you have any thoughts, I really love to hear from you. I really love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to subscribe, check, support me on Patreon if you may. Subscribe, it helps me bring quality and good videos to you. And see you in the next one.